All right, so let's start off with the type 1. Okay, let's start off with the type 1 because I think this is the most important section of this presentation because we're talking about the 9 types. So the type 1 is what we call the perfectionist, which I did mention just now. We also call them these names. The ones want to make the world a much better place. Hence, their focus of attention is what's going wrong, errors, what's right, because they're basically right and wrong people. The unconscious childhood message that they grow up with is you're not allowed to make mistakes. Okay, you're not allowed to make mistakes. So I wonder how many times in our lives, if supposing you're a type 1, you may have had this message when you were young. And it's not like your parents may have told you this message all the time, but you grow up thinking based on your personality, because we're all born into our personality, that you kind of look out for what's right and what's wrong, because you are again born into your personality type. That is the premise of the Enneagram. Okay, you are born into your personality type. I'm not going to read off all these qualities here. When you need to pause, you can always look at what these strengths are. So these are the strengths of the type 1. You want to make things better. They pursue perfection. They're responsible, congruent, ethical. They're very upright, high integrity, those kinds of things. When overused, now when it gets into the unhealthy side of each number, and you'll see that from the profile later on, that's when you overuse your gifts. So for example, when you want to make things better and you overuse it, you become a perfectionist. And perfectionists become quite inflexible. If you are tense and anxious, uptight. So 2 ways to look at the unhealthy type of each version is when you overuse your gift or when you actually get into the unhealthy version of your type, right? So this is the unhealthy version of the type, easily frustrated, very opinionated. Self-critic simply means they've got a voice in their head that's always criticizing both themselves and other people outside, right? So there's always this criticism and this complaint, happening. And hence, they tend to experience a lot of anger and frustration. When the one is relaxed, they can actually really let their hair down. That phrase basically means they can start to relax and enjoy themselves. But generally, the one will go to 4 when they are stressed. Now, for the 4s, if you know the 4s, when we finally get there, there's always 4s on the unhealthy side. They can think that something is wrong. I don't have enough resources. I'm not good enough. I'm spoiled. I'm just something wrong with me. On the unhealthy side of 4, they always think that something's wrong with me. When a 1 does not get their way or when they feel misunderstood, they tend to go to 4 because 4s frequently feel misunderstood when in the unhealthy side of their life. Okay, so remember again, when the 1 is stressed, they tend to feel a little like the unhealthy 4. So these are other things you could take note about the type 1 so that it can kind of anchor your understanding of the type 1. So they are very into systems, process, rules, and getting things right. Okay, so very much like someone who follows rules, they set rules. Sometimes we call them the QMer, somebody who likes to quality manage things. They're very much into black and white, good or bad, right or wrong. Language, they tend to speak like you must, you mustn't, you have to, you must, you shouldn't, you can, you cannot, right? So it's very much yes or no. Inner critic, I mentioned that just now. They've got this mind that kind of compares. Is it right? Is it good? Is it wrong? And it's a big criticism always happening in the mind. Number 5, focus on consistency and what is right. Number 6, good person cannot show anger. I must admit, we call them the good person sometimes because they're not supposed to be angry, and hence the anger is suppressed, but they cannot suppress it fully. Ones cannot suppress the anger fully, and hence it gets stuck at the throat, and it manifests through frustration and irritation. Number 7, they're very self-sacrificing. They tend to do quite a lot of things for other people in a self-sacrificing way, always wanting to improve the world. And they have this internal auditor always trying to measure things and compare things and making sure things balance, right? So that's a bit of a summary of the type 1.